So another episode of Living a Better Life with Darren and Denzel. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good today. Doing pretty good. How are you?
Doing all right. I know you've got the smoke up there, so hopefully you get
Yeah,
some clear time to get outdoors. Has it been pretty bad?
yeah. The smoke's been, it's better. I mean, yeah, obviously better than the alternative of having the actual fires here. But the smoke is, starts the day off. Sometimes it's nice and clear. Other days it's just like immediately toxic air that you're like, I don't think I should really spend any time out in this. So
I remember the fire last year. We had to evacuate for a whole week, and the smell of the fire. I mean, it's something I really love. And for the last year, anytime I smell like a campfire or a barbecue, I immediately went back to that feeling. Lots of love and prayers to everyone up there, and hopefully you guys can stay safe, and hopefully the rest of the state will hopefully
yeah,
calm down during this fiery season. I think it's a good segue. As always, we find ourselves in these amazing conversations, Denzel. Today, I wanted to go deep, and you had some thoughts before about the same topic, and we're always kind of amazed at how aligned we kind of get in these conversations. But I wanted to talk about discouragement and what happens when people feel discouraged. Maybe your take on maybe why it may happen for certain people, or what to do about it, and what you do personally when you feel discouraged, and what kind of progress, and how you see progress with this kind of cyclical feeling of, oh, I could be feeling great, I could be on my journey, and then spending a few days, or sometimes it can be weeks or months for people where they feel like they're not going anywhere.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of it comes down to sometimes it feels like almost like life's pointing its finger at you and it singled you out to choose to, take all of its anger out on you. So a lot of times it feels like, you can get into your head, why me? You start to feel sorry for yourself. You feel like, why is this happening to you? You're a good person. You have all the right karma and this and that. But the reality is, it's like we can't take really anything in life personally, right? That's the basis of it, where it's just like this is a part of life that has shown itself to you that you just unfortunately might have to add to your journey, but it's not something that you can sit in and feel bad for yourself, because that's just a never ending cycle, right? You can't climb out of that if you're just like, well, I'm here because this is where life wants me to be and I'm just going to dwell in it and this and that. And it's like you have to try, I think, to just look out and find anything that you can be grateful for, and like purposely doing that, because when you're down in the dumps, it's like sometimes you don't even want to find like happiness, or even feel like trying to crawl out. You're like, oh, I don't know, it feels maybe a little forced. But definitely try to just find anything that you're grateful for, and then just working towards that and trying to bring more of that into your life. And then just also then going on and being like, okay, well, I'm in this situation, what part of it is within my control? Like, what can I change? How can I make this situation better? And then just trying to work from there step by step, with the intent on just doing the work, and not on necessarily having to climb all the way back up when it feels like maybe you have miles to go before you're out of this hole. It's just like, just take it one step at a time, focus on the task at hand. But yeah.
Yeah, it really reminds me of the quote by Heraclitus, the only constant in the universe is change. And when I was in the beginnings of being interested in geometry and patterns and symbols, the ancient symbol for gratitude in a lot of cultures is a wave. It's this Fibonacci sequence, the kind of natural alignment that a wave takes, or that a flower opens up in. And it's always reminded me of surfing, because as a
Mhm.
surfer, you have to get into the wave, and it's going to last for a finite amount of time. And that it's a great reminder of our emotional process, right? If we're
Yeah,
staying in an emotion for too long, it becomes unhealthy, right? It's not that the emotion was unhealthy to begin with, but that our inability to see that life is unfolding is where the stagnant kind of feeling comes from. And then we get stuck in this space, right?
Yeah. Yeah, stuck in our own suffering. It's it's very common. It's the reason why there are, millions of books written on this stuff, because they're just very real feelings, and they're almost like our innate way to comprehend some of the things that we're going through is just to kind of sit on it and dwell in it. And it's like we need the guidance of others. Sometimes it's like we need to turn, or maybe have a person in our life that can help to, put a reaching hand down to help pull us up. So I think it's just, one of those things where if innately you're going to come into a bad situation and then just want to sulk in it, it's try while you're feeling good is to set up, because like you were saying, the whole wave thing, right? Like we know everything's just always changing. So when you're in a good mood, that's the time to really take advantage of putting systems in place that will help you once you get into those bad headspaces, right? You can turn to
I love that. I love that, Denzel. It reminds me of a snowball, right? It's kind of like snowballing in. And I want to reiterate what you just said because it's so beautiful. Like you can change your life in joy. You don't have to change your life in despair. And I think what you just said about it being something that you cultivate in when you're feeling good, make those minor changes when you're in a better space, whether it doesn't matter how long that is, right? So that you can feel like when you are feeling maybe a little discouraged, it's okay. And you have the right friend group, the right setup, maybe the right coach that can help you to understand why it's happening rather than just taking you out. I really love that. You had a quote that you wanted to share that I felt I think you should read it because or the paraphrase. I think it's by Toni Morrison.
Yeah. So it was a friend of mine, Denzel, who had posted this, and basically it's talking about she's talking about her. She's just kind of upset. She was upset with the world at the time, and that caused her to go into like having a writer's block where she just felt like she didn't want to create. She couldn't create. She felt, paralyzed by the moment. And her friend says to her, no, this is precisely the time when artists go to work, not when everything is fine, but in times of dread. That's our job. And then they go on to say, this is precisely the time when artists go to work. There's no time for despair, no place for self-pity, no need for silence, no room for fear. We speak, we write, we do language. That is how civilizations heal. So I just think that kind of speaks so perfectly to the moment, because I kind of felt like kind of the same situation where, we have everything that's going on right now between, the cops kind of seemingly murdering everybody with no right reason at all, right? Just out of who knows what, right? Other than what seems like racism to me, I have yet to hear a better explanation. And then we have COVID, and then currently have these fires. So it's just like I've just felt like, oh man, like I haven't felt like creating. And then just seeing something like that, and then having this conversation where we're talking about being stuck in these ruts or these feelings of despair, and like we have the tools to help ourselves get out of it. And I have the tools to help myself out of it, yet that's still where I've been, right? So it's not something that's simple. It's not something we're saying like, oh, get over it, get through it, whatever. It's, it's real stuff, real emotions. And, sometimes you do have to give yourself time, and then just keep trying to sit down, write, or do the thing, whatever it may be that you're not doing because of just the current state of how you're feeling. It's like if you can get yourself to act, then you can get yourself to move, and then everything else will change after that.
And what do you feel like, I've always been such a creative person, even though, I could do the math and I got away with, decent grades and those things. It was never something I was passionate. I always loved the creative process.
Yeah.
But also I grew up in a martial artist family. And so the martial artist is like well, when you're tired, keep practicing. If you can't hit the target appropriately, you have more work to do.
Yeah.
And the creative in me was also like, well, where's the fun in that?
Yeah.
Where's the rest in that? There's the period where I adapt, where I take a break, and that break helps me to have a better punch, right? So many times I go surfing and then a season passes and I don't surf, and then I go back and I'm always like, how am I so good? Like, how am I better? I
Yeah.
haven't surfed in a whole year. And then I remember, oh, there's an adaptation period. So I'm curious, like, where do you see that playing? Because I could easily see, and it's also the self-help kind of motto is, do it till you die. And I know we're changing that, and I know
Yeah.
that that's also evolving. And where do you see that playing?
Well, I mean, rest is definitely important and definitely one of those things that's overlooked. I think with anything, it's kind of like, are you aware of it, right? Is it purposeful at that point? Like, if you're stuck in a rut, are you aware of it, or have days gone by and then you realize, oh, wow, I haven't done blank
Mm,
in 30 days, right? Like, as long as you're aware of it, I think that puts you at least into a better place. And then if through that awareness you think that that's your best move at the moment is to just kind of continue to rest or continue to do whatever, then I think that's fine. But it's when you're like, I don't think that this is the best way I could be utilizing this time right now, but then you continue to do that, that's when I think it becomes a little bit more of a problem. And at that point, you're not really going to get the adaptation that you want, right? Like, you have to get back.
no, yeah, you're reminding me we're also very unique, right? So like I realized, oh yeah, I'm a triple Aries. I like to just go after it. Like I want to be first. So yeah, I realized like I can't stop myself from being that person. So I guess the balance of that is finding the juice. And then there's the opposite. If we're kind of like, fluid and all over, right? Like if you're surfing and you're like, the waves are over there, why are you trying
Yeah,
to catch waves over here? It
yeah,
just didn't make sense. I totally it was good to remind myself of like there's a unique personality to each of us, and as you said, becoming self-aware is the key, right? When we are become self-aware of our own tendencies to be in certain emotional states or to be in places that are maybe not going to be as productive,
yeah,
then we can coach ourselves out of it. And I'm always saying, like in meditations, like you're learning to become a better parent to yourself. So
absolutely.
like instead of like whipping yourself into shape, you're like, okay, you can do it.
Yeah,
You're gonna get whatever you need to get the job done appropriately, safely, and also with minimal, hopefully minimal energy.
yeah,
Some things take a little bit more though.
yeah. I mean, I was proud of a client today. A client called me up and was feeling just a little discouraged by like how she's been working out and like has been missing some workouts and this and that, and then asked me like if it would be all right to basically kind of wipe the slate clean. And I'm like, absolutely, right? Like, we do not need that guilt. There's no reason. And I think just getting to that position alone of like feeling like you can go ahead and do what feels best for you is a huge move forward, right? Like, for
Yeah.
some people, they don't want to even acknowledge that they're about to hit this same pattern again, but she recognized that, oh, I might be falling into this pattern that I don't want to get back into.
Yep.
This
Boop,
is
boop,
what's
boop.
going to help me get out of it. So we do that thing, boom, right back to it. And I'm like, that's the power of being vulnerable with yourself. That's the power of like really just having awareness and trusting what you actually want and how you think you can get it, because only you're going to know how to best serve yourself, right? Other people can do their best according to what you're telling them, but in reality it's like you know yourself the best, or you have the ability to know yourself the best, I should say.
It's the best coaching out there, man.
Yeah,
As always, it's always a red flag when I feel like I'm telling someone this is how you should live, this is how you should do it. Everything's practice, everything is experimental by nature. And it's great to know that there's an arsenal of tools that one can use along that journey. we always come back to like the idea of a hero's journey, right? Like we're becoming our own hero, and we're going to meet people in our lives that are going to seem great and aren't, and you're going to see people that you judge, and then you're going to later figure out they're an awesome person.
Yeah.
And so like we're all doing it, and I think that's also part of the healing right now. Certainly with all of the things happening on the planet, with so much polarity going on,
Yeah.
it can be easily discouraging and also unenlightening.
Yeah.
It seems as like, wait, I thought we were supposed to be going the other direction. What's
Yeah.
happening?
Seriously.
But I think in that there's also like Heraclitus says, right? If the only constant is change, then we got to wake up the energy, right? It's got to vibrate quicker. And I think that when we say like, oh, there's a high vibe, we're raising the vibration. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about a state of living where the patterns that negatively affect our lives of others around us can't manifest. I think
Yeah.
I think at this point, I'm not going to try and quote myself on it, but if I really tried to hurt something or I don't think I could do it. It's just so ingrained in me to like want to find a solution where the middle ground is met. It would hurt me if I felt like I was wronging, right?
Yeah.
And that doesn't seem to be the case for a lot of the people that we trust on those big levels.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's, unfortunate part is like empathy is lost, right? Like people's inability to put themselves in someone else's shoes and possibly feel what that person could be feeling and going through is just kind of out the window with a lot of people. But I think the power that those who do practice empathy or at least can feel it can let those people know we understand them, right? Like
Absolutely.
we feel and we understand their hurt and why they're the way they are, and hopefully one day they'll turn to be able to understand us. But it is the state that we're in, and I think going forward things will be better because there's more and more conversations of people just talking about these things that growing up you weren't coming across this stuff in school, right?
No.
And then there weren't media or mediums like this where people could come across it on YouTube like they can now, or on Facebook video, or on Instagram, or on any of these things. So, I think there's a really cool way that people can be educated on these things going forward on how to treat others, right? If you're not seeing nobody around you treating people well, or there's everyone around you looks the same, so you don't really have the chance to treat other people that don't look like you well, right? You can go online and you can see how people are doing that, right? Doing things the right way, at least the way I see it. You can see that. You can find that in a lot of places across the web. So it's a beautiful part of today.
It is. I guess one of my last questions I want to ask you, Denzel, for today is, like, it's easy to try and define this. Like, what is critical thinking? But I'd really love to hear what you have to say on it, because I have a feeling you have a different take on it than in most I think we would see, or whatever the dictionary is. And I think it's an important aspect about, I'm always asking myself, how do I ask better questions that get me better results, right? Sometimes we get the answer we want simply because we asked a less than question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, what would you say critical thinking is?
I mean, to me, critical thinking is just the ability to separate your opinion from what's being told, right? Like, are you able to actually hear something out fully and see what's actually being said there? Or are you taking your opinion and then shaping what that thing is that's being said? Like, so I think it's just really just being able to realize, one, what your opinions are. You have to be pretty strong in what you believe in. That way you can know if they're kind of seeping their way into your judgment of a situation or not. Because if you don't realize your own opinions, then the ability of them to seep in is going to be very high, right? So
Know
everything,
thyself.
yeah, it's going to be a bias of some sort. So it's just trying to basically separate yourself from this thing. That way you can view it from a unbiased or close to unbiased standpoint, and then trying to find within that what parts of it do you find to be true, what parts of it do you find to be false, and then ask yourself why, right? Like, is this an opinion again, or or is this actual facts at this point? Like, so yeah, that would be my take on.
I love it, man. I love it, and especially the idea that critical. I'm glad that I asked you that question because it was unique. There's a sense of neutrality. When I do meditation, the first thing I teach people is just be in your spine. Like where are you with your spine? Where are you? You feel like you're running forward? Are you back? Are you to the side? Is it like falling over? What you just said is so in alignment with that. I feel that symbolism of critical thinking is, can you be neutral about what you're seeing in your life and be okay with the idea that you may not know, and then keep that feedback loop going with better questions.
Yeah.
I really love it. And it helps. I feel like that would help people to be less discouraged, because if we can ask better questions of ourselves, I feel like it would help. It has helped me and continues to bring me out of those moments. Right? Am I asking? Am I asking the better question of myself? Yeah.
Yeah, because yeah, exactly. Because it's when you look at things as a small scope, you start to basically put that onto a much bigger time span. But it's like if you make the scope bigger, so you're able to just take a bigger view at time, right? You'll realize, oh wait, actually, in these last 300 however many days, I've been way better at all of these things compared to last year, or compared to the year before, or compared to the year before that, right? But when we look at, I was killing it for that month, and then we see the next month we weren't doing next to anything, it's like you still need to include that, right? You still can pat yourself on the back for that work that you've done there, because it's still more than what you've done historically throughout time. So it's definitely important to try to almost change like your vantage point to just get a better, clearer picture of what's going on.
I think that's a part of maturity too, because maturing with age, and even though you and I are fairly young, like being able to say, oh, there was time, and that time gave experience, and that experience gave blossom to something new, and something that I can then look back on and say, oh, okay, that's going to help me to determine my awareness moving forward. I grew up in a bubble. I didn't even know where Malibu was really until I was going to college there. And partly that and we played baseball all over the world. So it's just like I was traveling, but I never had an awareness to go outside of my potential.
Yeah.
Right. And there's that, what do they call it? The Peter principle, like where you kind of cap out on what you feel like your life should be.
Yeah.
And so it's, there's a sense of energy. And also I feel like it's juice. It's the juice that gives us the courage to then move forward. It's awesome.
Absolutely.
I love it, Denzel. Thanks so much for jumping on again. Once again, if you guys have any comments, drop them below, and I look forward to talking with you next time.
See you, Darren.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Yeah.